All right, Kevin, back with you again for another episode of the Million Dollar Relationships Podcast. And today I am here with my friend Mark Ingles. Mark, welcome, man. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. I know we've been trying to get together for a while.
Yeah, this has been a little while in the making, hasn't it? And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And you and I, do you remember when it was that you and I met? Was it around two? I mean, it's been a number of years. I know it's been like 6, 7 years since we've met.
We traveled the seminar junkie circuit in the early mid to aughts, like 2006 or seven. We kept coming into the same world, and you're very
Yeah.
recognizable because you're so tall and so outgoing, and I'm the exact opposite. So I knew you probably before you knew me.
Yeah, we definitely were running in the same circles for quite a while, and so, well, I'll tell you, I'm really excited to be able to have this conversation today and let you share your story, your experience around this, because I know it's going to inspire a lot of other entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs. And so what I'd like to do is just kind of start off by giving you the opportunity to share a little bit about who you are. Who is Mark Ingles? What do you do? Who do you serve? What inspires you to do what you do? And let's just kind of start off there, and we'll set a little bit of context.
Okay. I wanted to be my whole life. I wanted to be a computer programmer. So I went to college to be a computer programmer, became a computer programmer. And 3 weeks after getting my college degree in computer programming, I quit my programming job. And I became an entrepreneur accidentally, very, very much accidentally. I wanted to work with some guys that seemed as fun to work with. I didn't know we didn't have a business or any of that. And that was early 2001. And so I've been doing this is 2022 now, so 21 years. I could legally drink if I was a business owner now. And throughout those years, I've had a number of lives and careers, but my shtick is, and my secret sauce is because I have that technical background. I still like to develop things more for fun than for work, and I became a really good marketer. And we'll learn a little later about that marketer. So I've got this little niche of mine that's I can speak tech, speak marketing, do quite well at both of them, and merge them together. And so over the years, I've had businesses in printing where I used online marketing to sell offline marketing. So I got really good at both of those, and also ran a business. And always been in some form in a business that does marketing, and only for a very brief time, an actual agency that does marketing for other people.
Okay.
But currently, I have my second job in 20 years since I became an entrepreneur, and I run a lead generation company. And one of the lessons that I've learned over time is, 1+1 can equal 3 if there's two really good people involved. Or in my current case, 1+1+1 equals about 17 instead of 3. So I'm working with 2 other guys that are very much the opposite of me, and which is great because we have all different strengths and weaknesses, and we play to those. And so I'm in the lead generation space specifically in Medicare, which is an interesting place to be. My wife owns a nonprofit that specializes in helping seniors stay in their homes longer, stay independent longer, stay healthier longer. And all she tries to do is work on her mission and keep those Medicare guys away from her people. And I've become who she wants to keep away from her people. And so she has very direct service in a nonprofit role. And what we do is, in a couple of sentences, we find people that are on the wrong Medicare plan, which is pretty easy to find. If you ask someone on Medicare, they're usually unhappy with it. And we have some tech from my background and some marketing to find the people that helps them find the right plan. And then we don't do any of the selling of that. We're just in lead gen and get people over to reputable people that get them on the right plan. So who I serve right now is anyone on Medicare, which before I got into this world were people 65 and up. And there's actually about 10 million people under 65 that are our core market. So these are people that are by definition sick and out of work. And they're usually on the wrong plan, because just like any program that's been around for a long time. There's lots of complexity and nuance, and it's just hard to navigate. So we as marketers and we as tech people, built the clear path of, hey, what do you want and what do you need? Here's the best thing for you, and that's free to use. It's, whether you use this or not, here's educating and empowering you to get better healthcare and generally a better life. And that's really, really rewarding. When I was in the printing business, I made junk mail and litter. Like it helped, right? It helped the wheels of commerce move, and it helped small businesses. But in general, it wasn't the same impact I'm having today. It's really nice to we'll call someone back after their experience with us, and they're crying happy because their life's going to be better. So it's very rewarding financially, and very rewarding just going to sleep at night as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've experienced that, and you're right. Doing work that is rewarding beyond the financial gain, man, that makes such a big difference, such a huge difference. And that we're quite honest, and we enjoy it so much, and we get so much. We were talking about before we hit the record button. We appreciation, where people just are appreciative of what we do for them and stuff. And I know that I am an active proponent of showing gratitude and appreciation for others, but I'm going to tell you what, I like receiving it too. So that is awesome. That is awesome. Okay, so now that we've got some context set here, we'll switch gears, and I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of all the listeners. And have you ever been introduced to a person that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person? And Mark, I'm really excited to have you share your story, your experience around this, and be able to honor somebody who's had such a profound impact on your life and on your business.
Okay. I have a very interesting tale to tell about this.
Awesome.
So, I'll not say who they are yet, but I'll tell the story and it'll become very apparent. I was in 2002 or 2003. I was in business for myself, and if you imagine the computer programmer person, that was my personality. I tried to become extroverted, and how I did that is usually when I talked to someone, I looked at my shoes, but I thought as an extrovert, I would look at that other person's shoes as I talked to him. That's how, to set the stage of how much what kind of person I was. And I was with another guy that was a graphic designer who was pretty much the same level of business acumen, none, and outgoing personality, very minimal. And so we were in business together. We had no idea what we were doing. And we accidentally got pretty good at, and to give some context, this was like the .bomb time when all the .com crash companies were crashing, and we got into business making custom websites for people, which could not have been a worse time. And so we worked our way through that, and eventually we were selling printing to people, business cards, postcards. If you think of Vistaprint, this was before Vistaprint was around, that sort of stuff. And worked my way up that process. We would broker it. So we'd buy it sell it to someone and then buy it from someone else who would actually produce it, and work my way up to the food chain. And we were working very closely with a printer, and ended up working with that printer. And one night we were working late because we just worked a lot. We were in the early stages of business, and I don't remember what year it was. It was around 2003 or 4. I had heard, and this is politics, but for the sake of the story, it has to make sense. I had heard that if you Google the words miserable failure, George Bush's name comes up, the president at the time. And I was like, hey, that's cool. Whatever. And right next to that was a tiny little Google ad. And that Google ad said, think this is cool. Imagine what you could do with your business with ads on Google. Click on this website. And the website was, I forget what it was, but it was maybe leads into gold or something that was sort of clever because it read as led into gold. It was cute. So I clicked on it, not really, I knew what a Google ad was, but I didn't really know anything. And it took me to Perry Marshall's Definitive Guide to Google AdWords. And I went, hey, we advertise to small businesses. It's sort of a cool thing. And so it was $49 or $100 or whatever it was. And I put in my money and downloaded the PDF and went about my life. And then, I said a good day or two later, I went, well, that was pretty cool. Let me see if there are any other ones. So I went and I bought one from a guy by the name of Andrew Goodman and another one. I bought like 3 of these ebooks, and I did what most people do with these ebooks. I downloaded them, and that was the end of it. Spent a couple of $100, downloaded the ebook, scratched my itch, and I was good. I was a Google AdWords expert because I bought these ebooks. And a funny thing happened. I got an email from Perry Marshall that said, hey, one of the things that most marketers make in Google AdWords, they make this mistake. And what they do is they don't use negative keywords. They don't do something. Check out page 59 of my book to see how to do it. And I went, oh, that's really interesting. I started advertising with Google Ads, and I could do that. I need to do that. And you know what I did, Kevin? Nothing. I read the email and hit delete and went on about my life. So I get this series of emails from Perry Marshall saying, now, mind you, I've already paid him. He's not asking me to buy anything. He's just delivering more value. And so eventually I finally do the things that he tells me to do. And wouldn't you know, it worked. And all of a sudden we've gone from, I don't know the real numbers, but call it maybe about $500,000 a year in revenue to about $1 million a year in revenue. We've doubled our business significantly through what I bought in this AdWords ebook. And so I thought, well, this guy sort of knows what he's talking about, this Perry Marshall guy. And so at the time he was selling that ebook, and he had a B2B marketing system, and I was selling to small businesses. And this is early in info products. And I bought it. It was $1,000, which is a lot of money for education because I had just got a college degree. That's more than a class. And it came as all the products did back then in this big box stuff and 3-ring binders. And in it was, if there's marketers on the call, in it were like a photocopied version of Claude Hopkins' Scientific Advertising because it was in the public domain. He thought that was it. And I went through it and I did very little with it. And then you know what happens? The emails start coming. Hey, not buy this thing, which is what I was used to, but hey, go check out this thing. This is how you can get more referrals. And I went and I actually did it this time, and it worked. And so I was like, this Perry Marshall guy's all right. And what's the next thing that I saw from him? Oh, it came with a coupon to have a call with him. So, I prepared for 3 or 4 hours because I didn't know what to say or how to do. I'd never had a coaching call. Coaching wasn't even the word. It was called like a fast start something. Now we'd call it a master class or a mastermind. These things didn't even exist. And or the words at least. And so I prepared like crazy, and I get on and I have no idea what we talked about, but I knew enough then that if Perry says, if I ask him a question and he gives me some advice on what to do, that if I do it, it usually works. And so that worked. So Perry, has already changed my business into growth mode, profitable growth through what he taught me in Google AdWords. And then now he's teaching general business things and not even just marketing to me, and I'm doing them and they're working. And we developed a relationship over the years of he would have a product or an event or something, and I would buy the product or go to the event. And then whatever I learned, I would go do it. And one time I ran into him and said, hey, that thing you said, whatever it was, I did it and it worked. And then there was this little nuance that, I forget the details, but a little thing that I tried and that worked even better. But that was based on this other thing you told me. Like I was just sort of, and so I get his newsletter a couple of months later, and there's my story in it. I'm like, wow, I thought that's only made for, the really big guys, the Dan Kennedys of the world and the Gary. Wow, I'm in great company, right? And so I'd run into an event and I would tell him that I did whatever he had suggested and it worked or it didn't, and I'd be in the newsletter more often. And so from Perry, I got introduced to Gary Halbert and Dan Kennedy, and met them and went to their events and expanded my marketing thing, because at the time, that's, as a programmer, I thought I really needed marketing. That was the other side of it. And that was true, but the right thing to do probably was to hire somebody in the marketing space, which I wanted to do it myself. So I met all these guys, big names in marketing, and went to their events. And I have it's a funny thing. I have a written thank you note from Gary Halbert saying, thanks for coming to one of my events, which was a pretty cool thing,
very cool.
Because he's not known to be thoughtful. He's got his client suck hat on and everything else.
Yeah.
But
clients suck.
So I now have a sort of it's still a business relationship, and I pay Perry for time and all this, but we're getting to know each other pretty well. And at the same time, I joined. He had introduced me to Halbert, who introduced me to Dan Kennedy. A local group of Dan Kennedy people got together, and they all knew of Perry, which was sort of cool. And there was a husband and, or excuse me, two business owners, a man and a woman, who owned a franchise of auto repair shops, and they were
Okay.
the leaders of the mastermind group. And we got along pretty well, and I liked one of them, and I like both of them, but one of them I became sort of friends with, and it was the woman. And someday you'll have to get her on, but her name was Robin Hughes. She was a mastermind person. We traveled the same circle. She ran my mastermind. We became really good friends. And I'm going to fast forward the story a bit, but Perry introduced me to Dan. Dan put me in this group, and I met my future wife. So I met my wife through these marketing mastermind groups. We have 2 kids now. We're very, very excited. They just went back to school, so we're even more excited. But through this business relationship with Perry, I've grown my business, grown a number of businesses. I've met quality entrepreneurs. I've met people that share my mission and values. And I eventually meet someone who I marry in a mastermind group.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was really cool. Dan Kennedy was dying a year or 2 ago, and everybody wrote into him about how they changed his life. And I was like, hey, you're never going to get this one. Everybody else is going to be how much money you made him. But I found love in a Dan Kennedy mastermind, is what I wrote to him. So all this goes back to Perry and this one little ad. It was one little ad about, does this look cool? Imagine what you could do. And he kept delivering value even after he had my money, which was unheard of at the time. Now, Kevin, you and I run in circles where people want to deliver value and do, but we're a tiny little niche of the business world, right? Most of the time, once someone gets your money, you never hear from them again. Or the only time you do is they want more money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's been very, very, very refreshing. But I've had 3 businesses since I met Perry, two of which I've since sold. Working on a third much larger one. And with him, like, I still have him, we still pay him as an advisor to this day, because you never know what he's going to come up with. And I really enjoy his presence, enjoy talking to him as a friend now. Over the years, I used to hear all these marketers mention all these other marketers as their friends, and I was like, I don't know about that. I'm still a bit cynical and jaded. Are you sure he's your friend, or are you sure you're just selling something of his? And as I've grown, and people that we all have a lot of the same wants and desires. We're entrepreneurs. We like marketing. We like having a mission, like you do, Kevin. We like serving people. We turn out to actually be friends. And so it's been really nice. Someone in your circle, Kevin, is Bob Rigneris, and I met Bob through Perry. And Bob and I have been very, very close friends. If I am anywhere near Chicago, I see him. If he's anywhere near Florida, I go see him, or he comes to see me. We're very, very tight. We wrote a book together. He did all the brilliance, and I did a lot of the other work. But yeah, it was a fantastic relationships, and the quality of people I've met directly or indirectly through Perry has been really, really amazing. There's always new folks in his world. And always quality people that I'd love to hang out with, from a business standpoint, from a friendship standpoint, and just from a quality of human being standpoint, if there was such a thing. So.
Man, that is really, and I got to tell you, because now I don't normally do this on these podcasts, but every once in a while I interview somebody like yourself, who, in this case, you honoring Perry. I also have a very close relationship with Perry. So when this happens, I feel like, how can you not chime in and say some more cool stuff about Perry?
Yeah.
Because I met Perry at a Dan Kennedy seminar in 1999. That's where I met Perry. And at the time, he was doing some cool stuff online. Him and Yannick Silver both. I met him at the same event. And so I kind of got to know Perry a little bit then. And then I think it was in 2004, he spoke at this seminar in Florida being put on by this guy, Matt Fury. And I was at that seminar. And at that seminar, Perry starts talking about the whole Google AdWords platform. And I was fascinated by that. And at the end, he like, says, "Hey, I got this thing, definitive guide to Google AdWords for those of you who are interested." And then they passed out some order forms, and I ended up getting that. And like you, I started implementing, and I'm like, well, back then when Google AdWords first came on the scene, it was like the Wild West and 5-cent clicks, man. And I was all over that, and I used that to build my very first online business, which I started completely from scratch. This ugly website that there's still remnants of it there today. If you want to go check it out, getmoldsolutions.com. I bet most of the links don't work, but I still keep it there, Mark, just because I still pay to whatever little amount of money it is, just to keep, because I'm like, I don't want to just, I want to just leave it there, because for whatever reason, I just do. And so parts of it are still there, but that launched me. That little website and building that up launched an entire business that I ran for 12 years that then also led me to what I'm doing now. And you know what? And I remember years ago when my wife first came to me with the idea of she wanted to adopt a child. And I'm thinking like, honey, we're good. We got 6 kids. But my wife was insistent. And Perry was the first guy I called because I knew he had adopted. And I'm like, Perry, we got to talk. And he just starts chuckling. And he's like, this wasn't your idea, was it? And I'm like, no. He's like, there's a term for that. It's called the reluctant husband. He's like, that's us, And so he really helped give me some perspective. And of course, now Abby, she is now 11 years old. We adopted her when she was 3. She's been in our house for 8 years, just like she's always been here, and it's been an amazing experience. And I know it has been for Perry, and they actually adopted 2 kids. And so, and Perry was also the very first guy that I like. I love connecting entrepreneurs and facilitating introductions, kind of being a conduit of trust for them. Perry and Brian Kurtz, I connected those guys probably about 11, 12 years ago. And amazing things came from that for both of them. And they have impacted who knows how many countless thousands and thousands of lives because of the work the 2 of them have done together. And I, way back when I started looking at that going, man, wouldn't it be cool if I had a business where that's what I did all the time? And now we fast forward today, and that's what I do. And so the seed was planted, and I owe so much to Perry, to Brian, and to a lot of other people who have been there to just help me when I couldn't seem to get out of my own way sometimes, when I was beating myself up, telling myself, oh, you could never do that. And they're like, no, you could. There's a way to do this. You just got to figure out what's in alignment for you. And so I too am really grateful, really appreciative of Perry. And he's had such a profound impact on my life as well. And so, Mark, for anybody listening to this who's like, dang, Kev, I really like Mark. I really like the way Mark shows up. How can they find out more about you? How can they connect it with you if they wanted to, or what have you?
Easiest way is probably email. It's
Okay.
mark@markingles.com, wherever my name is on the thing here, markingles.com.
Okay.
I have some old websites that I'm sure you've seen that I will one day update. Yeah, I respond to email pretty well. The other thing I want to tell you, Kevin, you don't normally do this. I want to tell you the rest of your story about when you bought that book from Perry. What you probably don't know. He shared that story from his side.
Oh.
And what you probably don't know is you were his very first customer.
I did find that out years later when him and I were talking. He shared that with me, that you were customer number 1. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was humbling. That was humbling.
So you definitely know how to pick them, right? You pick an audience of people you're doing really well. I really am grateful to how he's impacted my life personally and business wise. And over the years, we've met lots and lots of people, both of us, and most of them come and go, and very few of them, I know, are continually delivering value just
Yeah.
because that's who they are,
Yeah.
not because they're trying. Kevin, I've known you over the years, and every conversation you're doing the exact same thing. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you again for having me.
Well, thank you for taking the time to do this and have this conversation. I really appreciate it. I know it's going to impact a lot of people's lives. Any last words before we call it a wrap, Mark?
Um, no, not really.
All
I'm good.
right.
I've really enjoyed this. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, you bet. Same thing. Thank you.